How's it going, y'all? This is Femi here, and if you are looking to understand how to set up your business to earn more profit, if you're looking at understanding the power behind building a business that is profitable, if you want to know how you can leverage accounting principles and using the power of the right accounting firm, this is the video for you. Tune in to this live interview that I shot with Sanjeev Desai through the Entrepreneur Secrets podcast.
We're live.
We are live, official, and I'm super excited. I got a very, very powerful man right in front of me. A gentleman who is extremely knowledgeable in the world of accounting and finance, and it's going to be a pleasure to have you on the show today. So let's give you the most awesome introduction. Sanjeev Desai is a 20-year expert in the industry of accounting, working with hundreds of businesses and independent contractors to structure their systems and processes to maximize profit and mitigate their tax exposure. If you are interested in establishing a solid organization and thriving business, Sanjeev, Managing Director of BBS Accounting, knows what to do to help set up success using the best accounting practices. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome CPA, CMA, and Entrepreneur Fellow to the stage, Sanjeev Desai, to the Entrepreneur Secrets podcast. Welcome, Sanjeev.
Thank you.
I'm super excited to have you on today. We've been planning this episode for probably the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the listeners that are kind of tuned in may not know who you are. I've been connected to you through one of my good friends, Jeff from Go Custodio, and I would love for you to just share with all the listeners and the viewers right now, like, who is Sanjeev Desai? Like, who are you?
Well, I guess son of new Canadians, and grew up basically having to be very mindful of our finances. So I guess I got those lessons early in life. Rugby player, played rugby, went to Western Ontario, University of Western Ontario, from Kitchener-Waterloo, where I went to high school. Went to Western for university, played rugby, still played rugby up to last year, basically. I got actually 4 businesses. My style is more empowering. The people that I work with really good people. I empower them and kind of sit back and coach in that sense. So the businesses are able to grow, kind of, working with really smart people. I do real estate, I do accounting, I do a lot of investments, whether it is real estate or in the market, and kind of working, I guess, in the end with all these things to save money on not pay tax.
That's big. That's big. And I think that kind of gives us a good segue into the whole discussion that we're talking about today, right? Like the reason why we created this specific episode is to understand profit, right? You came up with the idea. I think we were just informally chatting about what topic we should have for you, and you're like, the power of profit, the power of profit. I think that's a powerful name. And what role does profit play when it comes to setting up a business structure and a business model? What would you say that would be?
Well, at the end of the day, I think profit is paramount, because without profit, you can't really keep going into the future, right? So I think a lot of people make the mistakes of creating a lot of expenses when they really don't need them. My advice always, if it's to a new real estate agent or a new, business owner, on the real estate side, it's a little different, because those are micro businesses. And a lot of people come out of the gates and think they need to have this great website, they need to have all this advertising, they need to do this and that. And it's with any small business. But I always say, well, use the free social media, use your network, grow the business first within your network, use a free, social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I think is actually one of the more stronger and up and coming networks. I get a lot of people contacting me on LinkedIn, which is great, right? I tell people to go slow. If you have a job, there's no reason that you can't work 16-hour days. in the beginning, and you transition from that into that, you know, business, rather than going full out, not understanding, because you need to be able to feed and fund the mistakes, which everyone makes, and still be able to enjoy it and grow the business. I to be quite frank with you, every business I've had has been a very slow growth. You know, for example, in my accounting side, my goal is only to get one client a week, which is, you know, a lot of people say it's great, but, you know, I could be pushing a lot harder to get more than one client a week. But I think sometimes that dilutes the business, that takes away the quality of what you're offering, and it, you know, puts you in too many directions, right? You need to obviously take time to feed the brain, relax, you know, on the weekends, recharge, and then go hard Monday to Friday, that kind of stuff. But I mean, that all comes obviously with experience, right?
Yeah. And I kind of want to like feed off of what we were chatting about earlier, you know, just kind of like that growth you went through and how you learned to have that type of mindset, you know, like what things did you kind of go through that made you be like, I'm going to grow my business and I'm going to teach other people how to grow their business incrementally? Like what were some of the things that kind
Yeah. So a big lesson that I learned, and it was a lesson of my time and getting a couple bad reviews, because I live off my reviews, and any small business should. You should be focusing on getting those Google reviews. You should be focused on getting those Facebook reviews, and the customer and the quality service, the customer experience basically will come out of that. I was trying to get every client personal tax returns, corporate tax returns, bookkeeping, this, that, whatever it was, on-site, off-site. And what I was learning is that we weren't being able to, either these smaller clients were taking up too much time and they were not profitable. So the power, again, coming back to the power of profit, we need to make sure that we have a profit margin that we can work with, and then multiply that. But again, to do that, it takes time.
Yeah.
You're not going to get from 0 to 100 in a week. You got to get from 0 to 100 in a year, 2 years, because I'm going to take that specific client that I know I can service and do the, and another thing, I wasn't really into the niche type thing, and the local thing. I was trying to get broad, and I would experiment by try to do advertising in Vancouver, advertising in Calgary, and it all came back to, you know what, if you're in Toronto, listen, it's in Toronto, we have the biggest market in Canada. You don't need to go bigger than that, especially, and then you can do neighborhoods. You can go after neighborhoods and build from there, and go after a certain vertical or niche in that market. I mean, I think that's where you start, and then you kind of build it from there.
So there's another point you mentioned about profit margin, and I want to kind of like draw into that point, because some entrepreneurs, some of the listeners might be kind of green, like they're just beginners. I remember when I first started, I had no idea what a profit margin was. I'm like what is a profit margin, and like how should somebody look at that to help grow and scale their business?
Right. So let's just take it down. Okay. So you have income, you have expenses, we have profit. Well, let's not worry about gross margin and net income. Let's just look at it, because, you know, before tax aspect, let's not worry about that. So, you know, you have a client making $100, but, you know, let's say you right away, you said, okay, I need all these things. I need an office. I need a fax machine or a printer. I need, you know, all these, like, I need staff, or I need an assistant. I need a telephone line, which you don't, right? So things are going to eat all, the expenses are going to start to eat away at all your income. As an entrepreneur, especially in this technology-based environment, you got to use everything free first. You max out the free, because a lot of these apps or technology, or their software or tools will give you up to a certain limit free. So you got to max that out first, then worry about paid. For me, I'm using Google software that's all free. You know, I still this day, you know, I'm still cutting costs all the time. That's something that I worry about. And people will, and one thing you're always going to be talked into, like, people, sales job is to talk you into buying something.
Yeah.
But as a business owner, you got to be on defense. You know, playing defense, saying, no, I don't need it, and I'm going to try to do it myself. Or even in the beginning, don't hire staff, do the work yourself, learn the process.
Yeah.
When you learn the process, you then will know what to do when you're hiring that person, what they need to do the job, right?
I want to actually touch on that point too. Like, I think one of the biggest lessons I learned in building my first business, New Persona, is understanding the process required to service a client, right? Like if you don't know what is actually required to build your infrastructure, you can end up just like spending money on things you don't actually need. So like that is powerful. Just that advice alone. If anyone takes that alone, I think they'll make way more in the beginning.
Yeah, so to build on that, you the main thing in any business is sales.
Yeah.
Don't worry about expenses, right? Anyone gonna and that it should come down to sales and customer service and quality of service. You as the owner should be providing the number one service yourself, right? If you don't have the service in yourself, then it's over, right? So you do the work yourself, do the sale yourself, learn how to get the client, then worry about the marketing. Like I said, there are a lot of free tools for marketing. Like pay-per-click only works for so many people. Maps are like, I'm still learning about Facebook. I don't even use Facebook ads. Still using my Google, and I'm still, there's so much even in there that I haven't even touched on Google itself. Like, but someone, I'm not going to do YouTube ads. It's pointless. I'm not doing Instagram ads. It doesn't work in my business, right? And that's from the accounting side. Now let's go to the real estate side. You as a new agent you do not waste your money on Instagram ads. At the end of the day, if you want to get clients, go knocking on doors. It's the hardest thing to do, but that's how you're going to get clients, right? There are enough videos for free, how to learn how to sell, how to go knocking on doors, and your prospective clients are actually meeting them, right? Yeah. Go network, go to free networking events, whether it is real estate or it's accounting or is this. Go talk. I mean, it's tough now, but there are virtual events.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where you're going to meet people, right? And that's when people get to know you. They'll want to work with you because you are the business. You are selling and if you can't paying for things is not the way to go. The hard work is pounding the pavement, pounding the flesh, more digitally in this world now. But it's there. Tons of people are having meetup groups, online, virtual. Go to all of them, right? Build your database. Build an email list. Yeah. MailChimp is up to 5,000 emails for free, which is, I still think, one of the best email systems for email marketing there is. Mm-hmm. And I mean, 5,000 is a long, big database. I would. Most people don't even need that. And if you don't need to add every single person in your database. Let's get the people that are actually going to, actually respond to what you're trying to sell.
And I think that's probably like one of the biggest points. If you can figure out where to plug in to generate profit, cash flow, leads from your business organically, then you can start finding other means that you can ramp up stuff. And I think there's a lot of people I know who haven't validated a product, haven't validated a service, haven't validated really anything as yet, but they're quick to want to generate profit. And I think like if you understand there are other grassroots ways to prove that your product and your service and your brand works, then when you start looking at those other things, it can actually help increase your growth faster. Now, yeah. My question for you though, right? What role does accounting play when it comes to setting up a successful business?
So essentially what I provide in the coaching side, and we give unlimited support regardless of all these other things. I mean, if people have questions, I give them answers on sales, this, that. But online software, online accounting software, digitizing receipts, we do a monthly process, stay on top of everything on a monthly basis. Do not do it annually. Annually, you're going to be buried. You're never going to get ahead of stuff. We want to be proactive. We want to be ahead of the game, not behind, playing defense all the time, right? So from our perspective, we're doing the work monthly. We're digitizing receipts, and we're having an open dialogue. We want our clients to talk to us because they'll have questions like, can I buy a car? Can I do this? Can I do that? I'm setting up an employee in BC. Should I get an employee in the US, right? Contractors, because contracting is big. Buying is big. So from our perspective, it's really about doing the work on a regular basis, using the digital tools, whether it's Wave Accounting, which is free, which I'm not a fan of, all the way to QuickBooks Online, which I think is the best. And you can, do receipt snap and digitize and upload. And so organization is the key.
So because I'm kind of thinking about like back in the day before I had an accountant and I was trying to figure out how to do stuff on my own. What advice or perspective would you give to that entrepreneur that's like, I can pull out QuickBooks and do it solo? What advice or what suggestions could
So
you provide?
unfortunately, out of my earlier advice of not to have costs, this is the one that will actually save you money though, right? Because if you're actually able to look at your financials on a regular basis, which I tell everyone, we have hundreds of clients and all of them the same message, make sure you're looking at your financials every month, right? Because then you could ask us questions. Then you'll be like, well, why am I spending money on this? Because my profit margin is getting diluted, right? So, you definitely have to be proactive on the ball, be looking at everything and working with someone, because at the end of the day, if you're incorporated, you'll never be able to do your tax return. If you're sole proprietor, like, which is a personal return, you're going to be a smaller business. I advise usually, after like 75,000 in net, or even 60,000 net, you can have higher sales, but you should basically be switching over to corporation, right? To save on the tax, because, we can draw dividends. There's a lot of techniques. A lot of people will try to tell you that it's the same. There's no difference, but there is a difference.
Yeah.
And that's something I can discuss off like individually, because it's kind of specific to each person. So, it's definitely important to be organized.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons I learned from our discussions. Like, I find being an entrepreneur, you're so focused on the business, you're so focused on the brand, you're so focused on creating that vision in your mind that sometimes you're like, I can do everything on my own, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the common errors that you have seen entrepreneurs make with that mentality, building their business without the accounting support?
Well, they fall behind on their taxes. So the worst person to ever owe money to is CRA. And people don't realize that if you file late, the interest and penalties are much larger than actually even just filing it. If you owe money to the government, you can pay it's around 5%, right? Taxes, interest rate. But if you don't file it, it's a nightmare, because they're charging you credit card interest. So that is a huge expense, and people are just afraid, and they're not organized, they know what to do. So from the start, set it up correctly, do your bookkeeping, do your tax return. Unfortunately, we're built for people, we give all-in packages. We do everything for you. So some people will unfortunately, some accountants do make it difficult because they won't do the bookkeeping. They'll only do your return, so they want you to get the bookkeeping somewhere else. And at the end of the day, I've seen these issues, so that is why we provide the service we provide, which is all inclusive, that we do everything in one shop, right? So you want to find someone that you can work with, and don't have to work with multiple people. There's errors, and there's a process and a system. Like, we have a process for you to succeed. And there's a reason that people don't really leave us and are happy. And if you went and saw our reviews and read them, there's some pretty long ones of people out. They've had some nightmares. I mean, just like yourself, even had a couple of nightmares, and didn't even understand that this existed.
Yeah.
So that's where I think a lot of people get taken for rides, overcharged. But you have to be diligent. You got to do your homework. You got to look around. It's a simple thing to say, but get 3 quotes.
Yeah.
Talk to at least 3 people, right?
So then, like, what would you say would probably be like the top 3 things somebody should look for setting up a proper accounting firm or hiring a proper accountant?
Well, you should look at the reviews, make sure that how long they've been in the business, what people are saying about them. And you can get references.
Yeah.
People multiple times have been asked for references, and we're happy to give them, right? And you shouldn't be so quick to just jump on the first person because you got to do your due diligence.
Is there and this is just like a tangent question, like, have you seen in the industry, because you've been practicing for over 10 years, like 20 years you've been practicing.
Oh yeah, 15, 20 years.
Right? Have you seen there's certain niche type accountants, or are there different
There are. We don't really focus on personal. So when I talk about niching, yes, very important. So we generally, for our advertising, the way my website is built, I do generally 1.5 million to 2 million sales and under. A lot of our clients are IT, some of them are Amazon resellers. Some of them work for the banks that are doing like programming, you know, that are paid like, you know, $200 an hour kind of guys that are just accumulating a huge amount of cash. They need to know what to do with it. We have, you know, we don't have a lot of retail, thankfully, with this whole situation. I've always kind of been working more with technology people, I think, but I mean, that's maybe because of my location, because my office is in King West, which is, you know, a lot of technology like people. So it kind of goes to where you want to be. You got to pick the location. You got to find where those people are that you want to market to, and kind of go from there.
That makes sense. Now, like if anyone's looking at building or growing or scaling their business, specifically using accounting as a mindset, like what resources would you recommend? Like any books, any courses? I know we talked about a lot of.
To be quite frank with you,
Yeah.
you don't really need that when you work with us, because we provide them. I'm kind of like the coach. And I do, like, we show you what to do with the software, what those functions are, and then we kind of hold your hand through everything, right? Every time there's something due, we kind of go through it, we send you the information, you review it, you ask questions. So to me, I always tell people it's an ongoing conversation. I would focus, okay, so 2 things in a business is sales.
Yeah.
Learn how to set up sales, do sales, whatever. You know, one of our guys, he just signed him up. He's doing Kickstarter, young kid, like 23, but he's very smart, right? He's on a second business already. He's doing Kickstarter, which I highly recommend for a product. Is tested on Kickstarter. You're not losing anything, right? Get your validation. Don't just start getting molds, going to this, doing that, and paying for things that you haven't tested. From a service perspective, you know, you got to really like have the experience, you know what you're servicing, right? And then find your niche, right? Maybe it's Scarborough. You just start in Scarborough and just service Scarborough, then, you know, kind of go, because your time is important. You got to get to appointments, you got to have operations. You only need to spending your time in the car all day if you're a one person, you know, job. Let's say you're an arborist and you're cutting down trees. Like, you can't be driving all to cut down trees. You got to do the trees, move to the next spot. You know, you got to, in your day, be organized. So what I do in the mornings, I do all my administration, and then I'm free, right? I'm ready to take calls. The speed of what I answer a phone call is what gets my business. I close them because they're like, oh, how many times have people called me and said, you actually answered the phone?
Yeah.
How simple a task is that? But, you know, people are actually telling me that you actually answered the phone.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of the competition sometimes isn't that strong, but if you provide that customer service and you set it up properly, so in the morning you're doing all your, you know, paperwork, administrative, the rest you're working on sales and operations, and you kind of chop your day up, you know, and be organized. It all comes down to organization, you know, and having time to rest, and like I said, feed the brain, weekends or whatever. You take a Monday off, you take a Sunday off. You got to just do it all. You can't be disorganized and running in 15 different directions. It doesn't work.
And I think the biggest thing that, as you're building your brand or building your business, you can kind of forget the value of setting up powerful schedules, right?
Mm-hmm.
How scheduling can set you up for success a lot better. And I'm going to use this to kind of segue into the mindset of outsourcing tasks and outsourcing the work when it comes to bookkeeping and those types of stuff. So why would I, who is really great at organizing my day, I'm really good at structuring my time, I'm focusing on my health, I'm focusing on my family, I'm able to structure these things, why would I realistically think about handing all of my bookkeeping, all of my financials to somebody else? Why?
Well, I'll give you an example. Quite a few of our clients are actually CPAs, right? CPAs that are running a business. So, you know, at the end of the day, I don't even do my own books. I have my company do it, right? Because my time is not, if I'm spending 2 hours doing bookkeeping and that, I'm not selling.
Wow.
Right? And at the end of the day, income is more important than expenses, right? Certain expenses, like I said, are going to allow you to sell, to get the revenue. Revenue is everything. In some companies, I've seen salesmen or persons making more than the CEO.
Yeah.
And so what does that tell you, right? That sales is everything. And again, so income is, P&L, profit and loss. So, we're always focused on the losses part or the, expenses part. But I tell everyone, focus on sales. If you can focus on sales and get, do 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 in sales, the rest, and you're mindful of expenses, and accounting is an essential expense. So you can't do a corporate return yourself. There's no way. So why bother? Just farm that out and get to the business of selling, right? And operations. Then once you start to sell, you have too many sales, you'll die if your operations aren't correct, right?
Yep.
So it comes down, go subcontractors, hire subcontractors first. Eventually, if you need to get employees, depending on why, like sometimes if it's a technology, you need to shred credits, you can hire employees. And again, using the free technology is your best friend. Using the technology that's free to do the operations, right? From a review, like I went through so many different review softwares. These people wanted this much, that much. Eventually, I found a review software that basically was free. I got on the beta.
Wow.
Right? And I'm using it free. But not that that everyone's going to get that. But I was getting some people that want me to pay $200 a month just to have a review software. There's some people that are paying $50. And all it really is sending out an email saying, give me a review.
Yeah.
So you got to really kind of think it through. Like these software, people sell it to you to say that it's going to change your life. It's not really going to do that. They're just tools, right? And at the end of the day, pound on the pavement, doing the sales, but then you got to deliver on those sales, which equates to a review, which are free. That's it.
That's an important point. And I think like when you talk about looking at what drives the business, profit and loss, sales really is that infrastructure for you to actually grow. Now, here's what I'm wondering. Like if you're building that organization, you're building that firm, you're starting out just as yourself, what are some of the strategies that you've seen worked really well to bump up the profit more so? I want to kind of tighten it up, like bump up profit for an organization, for a business, and reduce cost. Like what would that be?
Yeah, so simple, and it might be actually oxymoron what I've been saying, but don't take every client.
Wow.
Because that one client, so I would trip over myself to get every client, and that client I discounted to get them, and I really went after them hard, like call them, get them. That client almost destroyed my business because it took all my time and my expense. I was losing money because I'm paying now resources because this client, it wasn't what it meant to be, or they didn't understand that they were losing the money and they couldn't pay me, and it just became, so now I'm looking more to work with people that I will find out what their business is. So for me, whenever I've worked like an industry like construction, it just never has worked out, right? Every single time. So to me, if someone says they're in construction, I don't even, I won't take it. Right. So it's I hope I'm not offending anyone in construction, but that is kind of, something that just doesn't work for me because it wasn't important. Right. Or working for a nightclub, for example.
Yeah.
They want to do cash, or they don't want to report, and we don't really cheat we won't bend rules. We do everything correctly. We do the process. So, it was very frustrating. So I just stopped. So now, like I'm saying, you have to really go after you, but you have to do this through experimentation.
Yeah.
And who is your client? What are they? And then because it comes down to, you're going to waste your resources and expenses to get the clients that don't work.
Yeah. I'll tell you something really interesting. So earlier today, I was actually I was on the way home, finishing up with a client, right? And I was listening to this audio book just on the way. And what was really interesting about it was talking about growth strategies, how to grow your business or organization quickly. And one of the most powerful things, even tying into the topic of profit, is first recognizing market research, like knowing who your market is and developing a really great product. You actually mentioned this even earlier. So developing a really great product, spending time refining that in the market you're working with, and making sure that when you offer it to that market, it's at a price point that makes sense to you. So I think like what ends up happening, and you can kind of like feed off of this too, like when a visionary or an entrepreneur or any business person starts a company, they kind of have like this desire to bring something that didn't exist to life, but you end up sacrificing a lot. Like you sacrifice your time, you sacrifice your energy, you sacrifice your money, but at the end you still want profit.
Yeah, and I think going back to that from my lessons is we actually are charging too less. We actually charge, we don't, compared to other people, we still don't charge a lot, but I was even charging less. And what was happening, I was attracting the wrong people. And the minute I started having confidence, I'm like, no, we can't charge that much. We can't charge that. Because we were, I was starting out. So I was like, no way, no one's going to pay that. And what did I realize is that, yes, people will pay that. We started to go in a niche of lawyers, a bunch of law firms, and they're ready and willing to pay if you know what you're doing, right? So we became experts in law society audits. And, it worked out really well because we have great clients that are lawyers and we still don't charge as much as they charge, but they're willing to pay the rates because they know the quality's there. So that was the confidence, to have confidence in your product or your service and charge what it's worth, because you will get rid of, the clients you don't want. They're going to waste your time. And what I've learned is that if people can afford your service, they're busy, they're successful. Right? They're not here to fool around. They just want the service. They want the quality product. They want the service. And when you provide, do your work, they'll pay you. The ones that are coming after the low rates and the low balls, they're here. They're going to kill your time, and just they don't want to pay. You give them a low rate. They don't have cash flow. Cash flow, we haven't gotten that, is paramount in any business.
Yeah.
Right. You got to work on your receivables. You got to collect your receivables. You got to collect your receivables as fast as possible and pay your payables as slow as possible. Right. A lot of times, it doesn't work that way on the payable side because people are calling you, but, you set up things on automatic payment on credit card and then try to, hopefully you can you usually can get that because you get charged in 30 days and you get an extra 21 days or whatever, but then make sure that you're collecting your AR in 15 days, right? Yeah. You want to close that gap. So that's a big issue with new businesses is cash flow. Don't take loans. Don't get interest expense. Don't go to BDC and get a $100,000 loan at 60%. You don't need it. Do things bootstrap. Bootstrap is way better because if it doesn't work, worst case, you use a little bit of your line of credit, but you're going to be way more cognizant of the expenses when it's your own money and you're bootstrapping your business.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest things any business owner can really think about. Like how can you generate cash flow? How can you first get those sales and grow that into a thriving business? So we're going to use this as a segue. A growing accounting firm and hundreds of positively impacted clients. What's next?
In terms of BBS?
Yeah, BBS, what's next?
Well, I'm actually reluctant to change the model. What's next is more clients. Right? I think because we've basically created a process that people are happy with. I'm not going to mess with a 5-star process where clients are giving us reviews. So essentially for BBS specific, if I do one client a week, that's 52 clients a year. Over 5 years, you got, 250 clients, 260 clients. So, and if your price point's right, that's a huge growth. So from BBS's perspective, it's really just keeping laser focused on the quality of the service, the marketing, and having a process. Because at the end of the day, there's so much changing just with the marketing, with the Google. They change the algorithm, they do this. And, with COVID, there's a curveball. We were on a trajectory of growing like this, and then we had to take a step back because some people went out of business. Thankfully, the niche we're in was tech, and work from home was very, was good for us. If all of my clients were retail, it would have been a problem, right? I would have had to pivot and do something else. But luckily, because, at the end of the day, we work, we only have meeting spaces. I've never believed in having an office. I did have an office for a short time, a storefront, paying $2,500 a month. Biggest waste of money I ever had, right? And COVID has just basically reinforced my model, which is a cloud model. But I've been doing cloud 5 years ago. So, and people were warming up to it, still wanted to meet in person. But now, I mean, my model is full throttle because I just meet everyone, do video chat, do screen share, do the same things I was doing in person. So the next, I mean, at the end of the day is just to harness that cloud and keep going, because now I think that we are now able to push our model more. Right?
That's powerful.
Yeah. People come after me every day to do different things. And I think my biggest, I'm just always having to fend people off to protect the current model. And the thing is, why do I need to change the model? When people listen to me, need to change it, need to grow. Well, why can't you do the same model, but they just have more customers? Right? I mean, Apple, look at Apple. Like, I mean, it has all kinds of different segments, but it's still a hardware company that's just adding services to itself.
Yeah.
It's not the same, but it's still, to me, is they have a 99% customer satisfaction rate. So that's the one thing I took out of Tim Cook's, when he was speaking to Congress. I watched that, and it kind of shocked me. I'm like 99%. So then nothing else matters with Apple, right? Nothing really. They could sell you, a piece of grass. It doesn't matter. 99%. So how can you break a business that's 99% customer satisfaction?
Keep consistent with it.
Just keep multiplying. Just keep adding customers that are 99% happy. You'll never go out of business, and you'll just keep increasing your cash flow. You'll be increasing your income. You'll be increasing your profit. And isn't that all what everyone wants? You don't need to be everything to everybody. You just need to be the best at what you do and make everyone make the customers happy. You'll get the word of mouth. You'll get the referrals. Keep the cost down, because the more that you keep niching, you'll be increasing your income, but you'll also be lowering your expenses, because you'll be like, I don't need this, I don't need this, I don't need this. Like, we were using, for example, receipt bank software, paying a separate fee. Then QuickBooks came up with the same function. I immediately, even though we could afford to pay for both, and it was easier, but I immediately said, okay, listen, we're going to put a little bit extra work, and we're going to educate the clients. And we just did that, pushed everyone over to QuickBooks, that we're using the same functionality and save money. Right? Customers don't care. Now the customer's happy because they're only using one software. Before they were using two, right? And no one actually even complained about it, because I think I saw that, well, now you don't have to use one. You can use two. You can use one. That makes the easier for the customer, right? Everything's in one spot. It makes it easier for the customer. Their data is now in one place. So the satisfaction, I could see, it would be good for the clients. But I save money.
I like that. Okay. So we have a few questions that's dialing down into the topic of success. Okay. What does success look like to you as an entrepreneur?
For me personally, it's all about the quality of my life and my time. I mean, I have young kids, and I see a lot of people, like I know I'm surrounded by a lot of successful people. I went to Western with, I went to Ivy Business School. They work 60 hours a week. They make more money. Well, I don't know if they make more money, but they make a lot of money in a traditional sense, because they work in a corporate, like they're vice president or president or whatever of these big companies. But I mean, I don't, that's not my kind of life. I'm not sitting in 60 hours a week to work. I mean, is successful. To me, I'd rather make less money and have a balanced life. The weekends, like I say, you got to feed the brain. You got to get out. You got to, separate your, that is success to me. It's not about how much money you make. Freedom is success.
I like that. Okay. So we're going to ask it two different ways. Now, what does success look like to you as Sanjeev Desai?
So, obviously there's material success, but I would say it's, again, I've been, I'm 46, and at 30 years old, I had enough of the corporate world at 30. I was enough to say, no, this is not for me. The politics, the whatever, the ball and chain. So I went out and I got my time, right? I work from, the ability to work where I want, when I want, using technology. So the freedom and the time I'm spending with my kids, my family, my wife, I play rugby. So yeah, I'm not mentioning money. I haven't mentioned money once.
Wow.
Right? But I'll be honest with you, that ability to be happy and to be organized has led to me being able to make a lot of money, be successful, right?
Wow.
And I'll be honest with you, I got fired from a couple of jobs. I was not a hothead, but I've always had my own mindset of how to do things, and I'm not a political guy. And maybe I told the wrong person the wrong thing at the wrong time. And when I got fired from these jobs when I was under 30, I was like, never again. No one will ever control my finances. So I have two real estate companies. I do investments. I do stock work. I have two accounting firms actually. And there's a second firm. We are going to explore different ideas because I have two different partners in that. One of the secrets is I make in Desai Realty, one of my top agents wanted to be his own broker. So I said, great, I will support you. Made his own company, and I partnered with him in it, only 50%, right? But now I'm taking passive income and I'm letting someone drive the train, right? Because I'm coaching him. So these are things that you can graduate to as a business owner. You don't have to be greedy and blow your money. That's success. And on the accounting side, my partners in BBS, I actually created a second business and made them equity partners in that business so that we could do different lines of business, more on-site, not cloud, traditional accounting. And they're owners and they're happy, right? So then that drives even that more success. So to me, it's not about the money. It's just about surrounding yourself with really, really good people, letting them succeed, and the money will come. The money will come if you just actually are happy.
You're saying all of the great things for the listeners right now. This is making me smile. Okay. What does success look like to you for your clients?
For my clients I'll be honest. So it's to me, it's communication, it's turnaround time. We don't ever let anything within, I'd say 24 hours, but I would say 12 hours. Someone emails, calls us, we respond. No minimal mistakes. We're human. But again, a lot of our clients are actual chartered accountants themselves.
Yeah.
And they come to us because of the quality of our work. So that to me resonates to me to say, well, listen, these guys are CPAs. They could do the work, and some tough ones at that. But they're getting us to do the work, right? So we're doing something right? So doing things on time, the accuracy of our work, never missing deadlines, being proactive, telling the clients ahead of time when we have deadlines, what we got to do. And you probably get the emails every month asking for bank statements. They're annoying, but I've been doing this. So when I created BBS, I took it from an entrepreneur's perspective. Like, what do I want as a business owner? I want my banks, I want to be reminded every month. Need this. They send me the transactions each month, so they're uncategorized. So these are the types of things that, and like I said, we don't need to go to bigger businesses. We're running payroll for these businesses in QuickBooks. We're doing all these. We do everything. So when I say, the success, it's unlimited support. We represent the clients with CRA. We ensure the clients have nothing to worry about because we won't charge them anything extra. Yeah. Right. And I think that's what matters. We don't nickel and dime the clients. The clients don't ever get an extra bill. And we will bend over backwards to do what it takes for those clients. We call CRA. We'll do everything. The clients don't have to lift a finger. That is why clients are happy with us, and that's why clients won't leave us.
That's big. I'm so happy to have you on the show, and I want to thank you for being on the Entrepreneur Secrets podcast. Now, for those that are tuning in, how can they get in contact with you?
Well, they can go to the website, charteredprofessional.accountant. Our information is there. My number is 416-697-6478. Email me at info@bbsaccounting.ca. But if you actually just Google my name, you'll find me. Because again, that speaks to what I've done on the social media. I've been doing, so before there was a Facebook, I was on social media. Right? We were on MySpace. So, I've lived off the social. There's no better way to get anywhere but use your network first. Experiment your business on your network first. Build your network. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whoever. Put posts. Don't be shy. Put yourself on camera. Do the videos. Everyone's doing it. Doesn't matter. Do it. Like I said, if you Google me, you'll find me. Just Google my name. And that's, you got to do that as a business owner. If you can't Google your own name and find like 10 listings on the net, then you need to work on that.
That's a problem. Yeah, I think like our future ones, we're going to talk a little bit about that. But we're locked into profit. You shared so much value on how we can increase our profit as business owners. We heard your stories. Now, is there anything else you want to share with the listeners?
Well, I think maybe the listeners can just reach out to me, which I'm very reachable. Like I said, we reach out in 12 hours and we can do a one-on-one, chat and go from there. Like I said, defend your costs, increase your profits, and defend and make sure that you have time to enjoy your life. Because if you enjoy your life, if you're happy, it comes across in everything you do.
That's powerful. Sanjeev, thank you so much for being here today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.